Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, Pakistan is blessed with abundant natural resources and the coastal region is one of them, including Gadani, Balochistan. This is the place where the ship recycling industry resides. It spans on an area of 1,256 acres divided into 314 plots, out of which 135 are considerably developed. Its geographically favorable terrain, unique soil gradient and tidal conditions for the ship breaching. Gadani saw significant growth during 1980s, earned lots of precious foreign exchange for the country but declined after late 1980s. It was witnessed hundreds of ships for breaking but now very few, which is a worrisome sign for the country's economy. With the decline, environmental and safety standards also compromised. On December 6, 2023, Pakistan ratified 2009 Hong Kong International Convention, will come into force next year in 2025. According to this convention, we have to improve environmental, occupational safety, social security and quality standards. Only then it will pave the way for new era of ship recycling in Pakistan. But how? This is the big question and we will try to develop this whole ambit. To talk on this important matter, we have in our studios Vice Admiral retired Ahmad Saeed. He is a decorated naval officer and right now serving as President, National Institute of Maritime Affairs, NEMA. Most welcome to you, Admiral Sir. Thank you very much for your arrival.
Pleasure, sir.
Right with him, Raheel Masood Sahab, he is the ship recycling expert. Most welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for your arrival. And online joining us, Javed Iqbal, he is the executive member of the Shipbreakers Association, Pakistan Shipbreakers Association, PSBA. Most welcome to you, Javed Sahab. Thank you very much for your being online, sir. Sir, my first question to you, Admiral Sahab, that ship recycling industry never been declared officially as an industry. Only effort was done by the government of Balochistan through the Balochistan Development Authority BDA Act 1974, created Balochistan Shipbreaking Industry Rules in 1979, but never updated to the Pakistan Environmental Protection Act 1997, subsequently the Occupational Safety and Health Standards even. So how do you see this whole ambit?
First of all, thank you very much for touching a very important subject, which is very important in a way that it has great potential to be giving a lot of dividends to our economy. But unfortunately, of late, as you have highlighted, that its processes which are not aligned with the international standards, because of that it has started losing its potential. So, coming to the Hong Kong Convention and our rules and regulation by the BDA as well as the environmental MOCC, you are rightly highlighted that these are generic in nature. They are not specific to the, not aligned specifically to the Hong Kong Convention. So, there is a greater space to review all these to get aligned with the Hong Kong Convention provisions. So, if we take the responsibility under the 18th Amendment by the Balochistan government, so it is not only for taking the revenues and these kind of things, it has certain responsibilities also.
Obviously.
So, within that ambit, I think the federal government as well as the Balochistan government, they will have to complement the efforts of Pakistan Shipbreaking Association, which is vigorously undertaking these certain processes, selective I would say. I would not say that they are comprehensively taking, and that is the reason next year ratifying, after ratification, compliance in 1 year is a gigantic task.
Because in June 2025 it would be into force. So, we are talking about Hong Kong Convention.
Exactly.
So, obviously 1 year on is going to be a uphill task.
If Bangladesh did it in 5 years India did it in about 6 years. So, in 1 year, in my opinion, it is, if not impossible, at least we will have a lot of problems. So, what we can do is that the last month we had an international conference in which we had concluded that we should start our process, and then we go to the IMO and then place our requirement to extend our period.
Okay, okay.
That is the government level we should do. So, within that stipulated period, then we should be able to comply this all process.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Raheel sir, Pakistan shipbreaking industry faced lots of challenges, but a worst kind of tragedy in entire history was on November 1st, 2016, when a ship named MTX SS Explosion. Can you please describe it briefly, and what sort of safety measures taken post 16 catastrophe?
Okay. ILO declares the ship recycling industry as one of the dangerous occupation in the world, and it's because of the reasons that it's the exposure to the hazardous waste. Number two is the psychosocial, physical, mechanical, agronomic hazards with it associated, and the third is the exposure of the hazardous waste to the individuals. Besides, there are other elements like low wages, like worker safety, like personal protection equipment, and these are all listed by the ILO in its listing for the most dangerous job. Now, coming to the MTXS incident, it arrived at Gadani Beach in October 2016, and it was supposed to commence its dismantling from 1st November onward. On the 1st November, while the cutting operation was going on, a huge explosion took place, and it had fatalities and the injured in it. In the aftermath of this incident, the yard was shut down for about 18 months, and it was reopened in April 2018. Following May 2000, and in April 2018, the Balochistan authorities, they issued certain preventive measures and strict instructions for the compliances. The leading instructions in them
Whether
were,
the compliance done after that?
Yes, and the most leading one was that it will have any ship arriving into the Pakistani waters, it will furnish the gas-free certificate for the hot works.
Okay.
Number two, it will carry out the joint inspection by the PMSA. And number
Pakistan
three,
Maritime Security
Pakistan Maritime Agency. Number three, it will undertake the joint inspection by the Balochistan Development Authority, Balochistan Environment Protection Authority, the Labour Department, and the Custom. And then finally, the Ministry of Industries and Production will undertake a sort of a inspection of the complete ship for declaring that hot work can be started. These were the principal instructions embedded in it. Beside, there were other security, safety and security instructions for building the capacity of the workforce prior to undertaking those works.
Your point well taken. Javed, Iqbal sir, whether we have the data available to assess that how many workers are actually directly affiliated with the ship recycling industry, about their welfare, the salary, overtime, paid leaves, pension, training, human safety, social security aspects, especially the healthcare and provisions of the latest equipment and machinery, etc.
Well, the workers here are getting very well paid and very well looked after. And every year or second year, there has been an increment in their wages or salaries. There are very good arrangements for their stay with restrooms, mosque, recreational area, dispensaries with medicines, equipped with medicines. And at this moment, I would say unskilled worker is taking home at least not less than 50,000 rupees per month, whereas a skilled worker is taking near to 100,000. So apart from this, there is insurance cover for any sort of incident, and there is workers training, drills regularly they are being held in order to educate them with the work that they have to perform, and lot of concentration has been there on the safety measures to be adopted during the process of dismantling. How the particular department, like for instance, the pump room, when it is dismantled, what all precautions have to be taken?
So, your point well taken. Javed Iqbal sir, as the shipbreaking industry largely depend upon the migrant workers, whether they are from the poorest places inside Pakistan or from abroad like Rohingya, Bengalis, the Burmese who are working at the different yards in Gadani. So, what measures are so far taken for their welfare? Because most of the times they have very non-livable residents. Most of the times we have seen that the health facilities are inadequate, their food, the water they are drinking, most of the things are substandard. So how do you see that that aspect, whether that adhered and we are actually complying the international standards related to the workers?
Well, the workers are mostly from KPK and Punjab. Then from Balochistan, we have quite a few skilled workers operating the cranes, the lifters, the loaders, and so many jobs that they are doing. So mostly it is within Pakistan that the workers are engaged. And I would say that every effort is made for their welfare, and every provision for dispensary, for medical treatment is being provided to them, and ambulances available at each plot round the clock. Then there is a hospital at the entrance to the shipbreaking yards, where it is being managed by the local authorities, and we also contribute our bit to it. There is no major or big hospital they have to be taken to hub or anywhere in case of any injury, but that needs to be taken care of.
So, your point well taken. Raheel sir, according to some of the reports, meager safety measures at Gadani beaching yards actually force the workers to carry out their duties under extremely difficult circumstances. So, what about the as Javed Iqbal Sahab is telling, that is very encouraging, even if the ambulances and the health facilities are there, because in 2016 ambulances even came there from Karachi and Hub. So it was really difficult for them. It was 1 hour journey back to hospital. So what about occupational health, the safety standards and the sustainable recycling machinery and all that? That is now, the provisions are there. And
historically, Gadani is reputed to have the issues of occupational health and the safeties. And it is after this incident that certain level of improvements were made, and that included the implementation, the instructions by the BDA on implementing the ISO standards, ISO 9000, which was basically aimed at the quality assurance, then ISO 14000, which is meant towards the environment protection, then ISO 18000, which is the occupational health and safety, then ISO 45000, which is the health and safety management system. And as per PSPA, they are also in the process of implementing ISO 30000. ISO 30000 is basically the right ISO standard which applies to the HKC requirement.
Okay.
And if they achieve the ISO 30000 certification, they will be near to the compliance of meeting the HKC requirement or the Hong Kong Convention requirements.
Definitely, you are absolutely right, because I was talking about on January 16, 2024, there was an incident in which 2 workers unfortunately died, Qasim and Mustafa. They lost their lives and crushed on basically by a heavy iron plate during dismantling of the bulk carrier. So incidents still happening, but these are not kind of incidents which were happened that was happened in 2016. That was disastrous, really. Your point well taken, Raheel Sahib. What about those oil tankers or the chemical carriers whose recycling is always a greater risk, and due to the presence of hazardous, toxic and highly inflammable, poisonous and harmful substances on board? Whether such type of ship tackled with pre-employed precautionary measures, because the scenario is entirely different and otherwise, because we have seen over the years that especially when we are quoting the 2021 incident when an Indonesian ship came to Pakistan. So do you think that these are pre-employed at sea?
As such, Admiral just mentioned about the Basel Convention. The Basel Convention basically restricts the movement, transboundary movement of the hazardous material. And the onus of that movement or that movement restriction, it lies basically with the flag state and the country where the ship is destined for the recycling.
Okay.
In case if there are some flaws in the implementation, the laws are supposed to be the local implementation of those countries, how strict they are and how rigid they are. Now, if there is some flaw in the implementation of the law, then the movement of such vessels is possible, and it can.
So you are saying that we have the laws available, but unfortunately the implementation is the issue. So what kind of implementation? Means we are our agencies are not much vigilant on that, and they are not employing it properly, or there is some administrative issues.
Now, after the implementation of the instructions, in case of MTX, there are more now rigid sort of regulations in which any ship arriving into Pakistan, it has to give a gas recertification for the hot works before entering into the territorial waters. And then the joint inspection is to be carried out by the Pakistan Maritime Security Agency, as I had already mentioned it. And subsequently, a joint inspection is to be undertaken by the Balochistan
They are bound to give that certification before entering into the territorial waters.
Before entering into the territorial waters.
Okay. So, Vice Admiral Sahib, is it correct that some of the dangerous and hazardous ships are actually banned to recycle? It is not the question that whether they are entering or not. They are banned to recycle. It means that they can never even come from the port from there starting their journey, basically. So countries never allow them to enter into their territorial waters even. So as enforcement agencies and the watchdogs, they are so vigilant to such things, but unfortunately the things are otherwise in our country when we are talking about that, because that was in context of that Interpol report that was issued in 2021 about the same incident, talking about Raheel Sahib is talking about that.
Yeah, you are right that as Raheel Sahib mentioned, that rules and regulations are there, but its implementation, and that too an implementation in a way that even if somebody wants to dodge or do something which is illegal, that is to be taken care of. But in this particular case which you are talking about, an Indonesian ship which had some hazardous waste cargo, under Basel Convention is number one. Under the MARPOL provisions, which is issued by the IMO, under MARPOL 3, I think, yes, it is under MARPOL 3 also, it is not allowed. But the problem was, I think, that they successfully forged the paper. They actually changed the ownership and the name of the ship 3 times.
Means they were keep on changing the identity of the ship.
First they were checked once they were entering into the Bangladesh. Secondly, once they were trying to enter into the Indian territory. But having known by India that it is a ship which is carrying a hazardous cargo, and it is on the watch list, it came to Mumbai, and it was never transmitted to Pakistan that it had certain issues. So I think with the change of names and all these things, probably they managed to land on our soil. So, later on the post-event investigation revealed that this is what actually it has happened. So, now after that, of course, a lot of other stringent measures have been introduced to look into and get integrated into the international network. That is more important.
Okay, your point well taken. Admiral sir, whether we are ready to face practically this implementation of the Hong Kong Convention next year, because lots of crucial things are there, and obviously whether it's the Hong Kong Convention or you were talking about the Basel Convention, other convention, and the laws in having the environmentally safe, healthy and sustainable ship recycling, whether we are ready for the next year, because we have very shortened time frame, only 1 year left, and we have to do a lot of things.
I think first give you a little overview of what National Institute of Maritime Affairs is doing in this particular aspect. That is that 2 years ago, once we started off with this assessment, first report was issued by our institute, and that indicated that if we do not do this process, it is going to hurt Pakistan's this very important shipbreaking industry badly. So, on that premise then movement started. So, we also in that we identified that the model is available, which Bangladesh had taken from Turkey, and they then retailored it according to their requirements.
Okay.
And then they implemented with the help of Norway, NORAD shipping company. They helped them through the IMO, and the World Maritime University also provide them the training facilities, syllabi and everything. So, we took the same thing for us, and now with the help of our government, Ministry of Maritime Affairs plus Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Climate Change, including the Balochistan government, we started to carry out a gap analysis first step, so that we know that what are the things which needs to be looked after.
What are the shortcomings and how we are going to bridge that gap?
Exactly.
Basically.
So, that is towards the culmination now, and we have had an international conference last month also in Karachi. A lot of inputs have been taken. So, having said that, the immediate requirement which in the Bangladesh model is to create a centrality in the government.
Okay.
Because the Bangladesh, they formed a board, Balochistan Ship Reprocessing Board, in which all the stakeholders they were taken in, and they identified a lead industry also.
Okay.
The lead ministry which will take, plus they asked and invited the IMO to have their office available in their Prime Minister office. That means to provide a one window solutions.
Okay. Okay.
And that is how they started off, and I think this is a missing link in our area at the top level, so that to look into the policies gaps and start working on it and give a lead from the government side.
Means the government has to approach IMO for such facilities to comply with the Hong Kong Convention. That is very important.
And as you said that with 1 year there is a great challenge. I also understand that in our assessment it is a huge task, uphill task,
which no doubt.
Even if we go full head within 1 year, I think it will be we will be falling short of it. But in the conference, I think good suggestion was given that we should at least start, and then with a plan we approach to the IMO through the government, and we ask for the extension into this date, and which normally they accede to, while seeing that you have a plan and you have embarked upon, and plus we should ask for the technical assistance as well as the funding.
Definitely, your point well taken, well described. Javed, Iqbal sir, some of the very important platforms internationally, they are compelling Pakistan to act swiftly, like the NGOs shipbreaking platform, the Basel Action Network, BAN, then European Environmental Bureau, IPEN, that is International Pollutant Elimination Network, the Nexus 3 Foundation and the Zero Mercury Working Group are urging Pakistan to act decisively to develop the ship recycling industry. How do you comment on that?
Well, it is for them to point out whatever they feel is required. But we, on our part, are doing our utmost. And like I mentioned to you, we are preparing our yards for the HKC. And in order to meet that, we are doing the SOPs for dismantling to ensure worker safety, disposal of waste, better living conditions for workers, and whenever you visit a yard, you will find important places. Many of the yards include hazardous waste storage areas, progress layout of the impermeable flooring being constructed, various cutting zones that are demarked. The primary cutting zone is the ship itself, and then the secondary cutting zone is on the ground. The oxygen and acetylene cutting gas lines laid up in open channel for safety purpose. Then the access road is again impermeable flooring wala. Restrooms have been constructed, tanks for storage of oil, firefighting arrangements on the ship where the work is going on and on the ground itself where the workers are working. So all this is part of what the various NGOs are suggesting. And above all, at this moment of time, the stringent measures for the safety and adhering to the requirements is concerned. In the case of the tankers, the gas-free certificate issued from the last port, and then the inspection by the explosive department prior to issuance of the permission. All these are very good measures which these NGOs should be aware of, if not, in case they don't know about it. And finally, I would say, as far as the HKC is concerned, well,
Okay, okay. Your point well taken. Your point well taken. Vice Admiral sir, beside Hong Kong and Basel conventions, what's the prime reason behind that not a single recycling facility in the region, including Pakistan, has been approved under the European Union ship recycling regulations? Because it is very important that even the Hong Kong Convention, if we have already ratified it, and if we just comply it, and if we just 100% compliance is there, even then the European standards are not going to met. So what's the reason behind?
Actually, the European Union ship recycling rules, they are a little more comprehensive.
Okay.
And they are looking at the shipyards right from the design phase.
Okay, okay.
It is the designing, it is the construction, it is the through life supportability, and a plan for its dismantling.
Okay.
So
right
this
from the
is
first day.
Right from the day one. So this is actually, they are doing it under the ambit of sustainable development goals, in which if we refresh our memories about COP28, in which the 5 big ships companies, they have vigorously pursued, and they have admitted that by 2030 all the ships at sea, their design and their operations and disposal will be aligned with the recycling processes of sustainability,
Okay.
environmental protection, and plus they will have the Hong Kong Convention, the community services and everything available. So this is a little larger in terms of a shipyard which is undertaking all 3 or 4 stages, like Karachi shipyard. Now Karachi shipyard and engineering works is embarking upon as well this process that will come under the EU SRR.
Means Karachi shipyard and engineering works also following the same footsteps as the European Union has mentioned.
Exactly. So they will have to actually get into this. That means from the design, construction, through life supportability, and then it's dismantling.
Till the dismantling.
Exactly. They will have to undertake all these processes. But Gadani is a different case, in which I think Hong Kong Convention, if it is ratified, the EU is actually giving a ship for construction also. So it is not related to that. So it is dismantling part only. So Gadani, even if it does the Hong Kong Convention its compliance, which Javed Sahab has alluded to, that PSBA is doing a
At least we have to comply with the Hong Kong Convention. That is very important.
That
and
is
that is the
step
uphill
one.
task still we have now. Raheel Sahab, Pakistan is a country which is already suffering and affected because of the climatic changes, and the maritime resources are already polluted due to these various reasons. What about the ship recycling to meet the significant imperatives of the net zero emissions? Turn into a green recycling industry by 2050, because that is very important when it comes to these conventions as well, and particularly when we have to save our maritime resources.
As a country impacted by the climatic changes, Pakistan in fact is facing a serious challenge in its recycling industry's transition to sustainability,
Obviously.
and net zero emission, and achieving the net zero emission. At the same time, it's a very investment intensive business
It is.
to achieve the eco-friendly total level of that requirement. But at the same time, the Kirani shipyard is undertaking some eco-friendly practices in which they are adopting to the renewable energy, the eco-friendly procedures in it, and it is in fact they are also undertaking the hazard waste management that also forms part of it. But it would be most appropriate if the Pakistan collaborates with international organizations and green bond funding agencies to develop its roadmap for the recycling of for the ship recycling industry, and help the country in the adoption of the technologies, in the rebuilding of the infrastructure, which should be eco-friendly.
Means you are saying that there must have to be some sort of a joint ventures and have investments through green bonds and all that, so that we can develop a roadmap first and then act on that roadmap to comply with the green and to develop a green recycling industry. Sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, a little idea which I read about was that as the ship recycling industry, initially it started off from the Europe, and after the World War II in Europe as well as in USA. But because of its inherent issues related to the environment, it was shifted to the developing country. In 60s that came to Japan, South Korea, Taiwan and Spain, and subsequently in 69 then it came to Pakistan and Bangladesh and India. So over 100,000 ships are plying at sea. So there is a responsibility lies on the shipping industry also. Once they are sending these ships for shipbreaking, they have to contribute.
Definitely,
This
that is
is
very
a-
important point.
So
Very
for
important
that
point.
reasons,
Yes.
I think if 90% of the ship recycling is being done in South Asia, so Pakistan, India and Bangladesh should make a consortium, and on the pattern of COP27, we should ask for a funding at the IMO by these countries.
Definitely,
And they
definitely.
should help these countries in developing their capacity. And those funding should be available like Pakistan. They should give those fundings to Pakistan to assist in technical training as well as the hazardous waste management system installation, because that is a very technical and money and capital intensive technology.
Definitely, your point well taken and very important point. Javed Iqbal sahab, why Pakistan's recycling yards are not attracting customers as Bangladesh and other in the region, because due to this fluctuation, it's actually affecting adversely to already fragile economic conditions of Pakistan. So how do you see that? Because the meager contribution is straight away coming, lots of means very small quantity of ships are actually coming to Pakistan.
Basically, the strategic importance of this, one of the leading industry, cannot be overemphasized. At one time, it was a major source of raw material for our steel industries. Uh, I would say until the 90s. You see, we were dismantling huge, very large crude carriers, and three of the biggest ultra large crude carriers were demolished. I think it was in 2005 in Pakistan. You see, uh, shipbreaking produces value added raw material for the steel industry, in which there is a saving of precious foreign exchange. So we need to have a supporting tariff structure. Now what is happening is that whereas we are manufacturing raw material for the steel industry, for the re-rolling mills, and 20% for the remelters also, at the same time government has allowed import of re-rollable scrap, on which the item which comes in semi-finished form, it goes directly into the re-rolling mill without undergoing any value addition or anything of that sort. So we are not able to compete with them. So basically, after 2020, the 2019-20 were very bad years. Then 21-22 we picked up very well, and I think we contributed about 23 billion to the national exchequer. There are about 130 ships in 2021 and 142 vessels in 2022. But later on, after 2022, because of the drastic fall in the currency, our import of ships became unviable. And from 2023 January to October 2023, there was no import at all. 23 October the things have started, but there are issues of foreign exchange, LC opening, so very few yards are functional. But it's a great credit that out of these yards which are working, 11 of them are already on the road to HKC compliance. So little support from the government in all matters. The TSDF facilities at Gadani, for which 27 acre of place has been earmarked, that should be done on a very fast track, so that HKC becomes a reality. We don't have to take our hazardous
Javed
waste
Iqbal
to
sahab,
far off
Javed
places.
Iqbal sahab, you have just mentioned about the rupee devaluation. That was the main cause, and what the material straight away imported for the re-rolling mills. That is again the second one, which is actually the impediment for the recycling industry. So, do you think that some of the other factors also contributing, like China and Turkey, they are having their facilities are increasing day by day, and most of the ships are going there for recycling? Number one. And the second is that because of the environmental laws and the pollutants and all others, some of the huge shipping industries avoid their ships to be recycled to any other country because their belongings, might be they belong to the European Union, so they don't want any sort of fine or sanctions imposed on them. So then some of the aspects which are other aspects which are contributing into that, the Bangladesh and the Indian shipyards as well. So do you think that these are all contributing factors why the business is actually going low?
Well, sir, as far as China is concerned, China is no longer into shipbreaking since 2019. Once upon a time, it was one of the leading nations doing shipbreaking, and they used to have composite yards with shipbreaking, shipbuilding, ship repairing all at one place. But at the moment, they are importing iron ore and manufacturing so many things, so they are not bothered about shipbreaking. As far as Turkey is concerned, Turkey is doing it, and some of the yards in Turkey are EU SRR certified. But one very important thing I want to mention you, that whereas Turkey is EU certified, our ships coming to beach at Gadani, they are also doing landing, not beaching, because the forepeak comes on the beach, and almost you can say that 200 or 300 feet, 200 feet I would say, is on the dry beach. So already we qualify for EU qualification. So let's hope that this economy things improve, we are able to compete, the tariff structure is rationalized, the items which are hurting our industry are stopped, so we can concentrate on our work rather than getting upset, making losses, and not able to import. India
Definitely.
India is doing
Your
well
point,
because
your
of
point
the
well taken. Your
facility
point
of
well taken.
HKC.
Raheel sahab,
Bangladesh.
according to Pakistan Shipbreaking Association, as rightly mentioned by Javed Iqbal sahab as well, the number of vessels which were actually came to Pakistan, that was year basis that is going to drop. And when we are talking about there are lots of ships earlier on coming in 2009, let's for example, there are lots of ships coming to Pakistan. Earlier there were more ships, but every passing year we have a decline. Lots of reasons mentioned by Javed Iqbal sahab, and those are the valid reasons really. But what you think that how we can improve this situation and how we can earn more ships at Gadani, more shipbreaking, because ultimately it provides employment to the people and obviously the precious foreign exchange reserves as well.
Yes. Now I will just go back to the MTXS incident. While we were battling with the MTXS incident, Bangladesh was aggressively pursuing its Sensoric program, the ship recycling program, and India followed it. But we even had not ratified the Hong Kong Convention by that time. Hong Kong Convention we have just ratified last year in November. Now, we have lost an opportunity cost. We have lost the opportunity where we should have built our industry. We have not done that work till now. Now, it is imperative for our industry to undertake the Hong Kong compliance.
Okay.
It is essentially required that our legislation should be in place to support the industrial reform. It is imperative that we have our infrastructure constructed according to the requirements of the Hong Kong Convention. It is imperative that the yards infrastructure is developed as per the Hong Kong Convention requirement. It is also imperative that the occupational health and safety requirements are met in compliance with the Hong Kong
Means
Convention.
the workers' social security and the...
It's not the social security, it's basically their occupational health and the occupational safety. And social security is then which it follows. Then lastly, it is the hazardous waste management which has to be undertaken. There is no shortcut to it. If we are not going to render our compliance of the Hong Kong Convention, even if the date is falling short or we are falling behind, but we have to do it on a fast
track basis. Definitely, your point well taken. So adding into that, Admiral sir, at least 20 to 30,000 people are directly employed to the ship's recycling industry, and 85,000 are indirectly getting benefit in the businesses out of this industry. Do you not think that this industry is actually supporting more than 100,000 people? So why not we are emphasizing on this industry, because it ultimately it gives lots of employment, lots of business generation, and might be we are having able, if we are getting raw material for the steel industry, we will be able to have exports as well.
Very rightly pointed out that if we compare it like Bangladesh, before they went into the ratification process and compliance, and now where they stand, they used to have about 15 to 20% of the total steel requirement met through their own processing at that time, and after ratification and compliance now they have jumped up to 50%. Now they are the leader in our area and very closely being competed by the Indians. We have dropped tremendously. So that means compliance of, after the ratification, compliance of Hong Kong Convention provision is an inescapable reality.
Obviously.
We have to. So giving centrality, as I said, that government level attention, and secondly, as you said, a lot of people are attached, over 80,000 to I think 1 million people are attached to it, and their well-being is needs to be looked after. So aim is at the moment to have this gap analysis done at the earliest, which we are doing at the National Institute of Maritime Affairs with the help of the Norway Embassy. I must compliment the efforts of the ambassador of Norway as well. So, after that we go into a comprehensive planning with the government, and then we put across this process to the IMO, because IMO is the ultimate authority to certify our efforts that it is in line with the IHK.
Definitely, your point well taken. And one last question to you all three. So first, Javed, Iqbal sir, there is a research report that tells us that in the next 10 years, 2023 to 2032, 15,000 vessels would be scrapped, doubling the numbers as compared to the previous 10 years. So whether Pakistan is gearing up to get its chunk out of this whole business? Javed sir?
The reason why we are so concerned about getting our HKC rolling, so we are qualified to secure those vessels which otherwise would go to those yards which are HKC certified. Now we are going to start the second phase of the HKC. The first 11 yards are getting done. The next 10 yards will be done, and we are racing against time to accomplish that. We are very much aware of it, and we had a meeting with the ambassador of, I think that was, yeah, correct. So it was Norway, and they had 1,500 vessels to be sold for breaking. So this way, I mean, we can make big strides, but provided we are able to concentrate on our work and not be worried about making the two ends meet. Absolutely. And hope the government is going to take this matter on the coming budget. They're going to take it on.
Raheel sir, if you want to add something into that, whether we are ready to grab our business in next 10 years?
In next 10 years, yes, we can. We can. If we just need to have a drive, we need to have a government support, we need to have the instruments in place, and most importantly, the all the time support of the government is needed in revitalizing this industry.
Obviously,
that
it is
would
very
be catalytic for its transformation.
Well described. Admiral sir?
I think 10-year we should be. There is no reasons why we should.
Because we have already wasted a lot of time, really.
One point I would say that the geography plays an important role, not in security as well as into your business also. So this is something which was told by the Norway ambassador to me. He said that if we are sending our ships for recycling, so after crossing the Suez Canal, which is the first country, it is Pakistan.
Yes.
So we need to put our house in order.
That
business is there.
Yes.
So for them, option is first Pakistan, then it transits towards India, then goes to the Bangladesh.
Obviously.
So we need to grab this, definitely.
You are absolutely right, and thank you very much, Vice Admiral retired Ahmad Saeed sir. Thank you very much for your presence here in the studios. Thank you very much, Raheel sir. Thank you for your candid views as well. Javed Iqbal sir, thank you very much for being online and lots of patience you have shown. So credit goes to you, and thank you very much for your whole of the information, whatever you have contributed. So nice of you. Viewers, as our panelists suggested, the Hong Kong Convention, the Basel Convention, and all other international laws and the related conventions and treaties are very important to adhere, because if we comply 100% on these conventions, ultimately these are going to benefit Pakistan, and this is what we require. Pakistan has to excel. Pakistan has a lot of potential to go on, and the ship recycling industry can contribute a lot into the Pakistan's economy. Along with that, the important source of the steel industry is this industry, which is the recycling industry, because that is ultimately contribute to our exports as well. 80% of the recycling done in South Asia, including Pakistan, ILO declared it a most hazardous industry, but it is important that we have to go along with this, and we have to comply with the convention. Some safety measures done post 2016, but we need to do a lot of things right now. As our panelists said, that Pakistan Maritime Security Agency has additional charter to examine the ships before entering into the territorial waters. So environmental protection, the safety, occupational health, and all of the measures must have to be taken on that course. The government has to urgently take measures for the ship recycling industry. Norway is contributing a lot and helpful in that account. Ministry of Foreign Affairs obviously is a helping hand, but the gap analysis, which is at the final stage at the National Institute of Maritime Affairs, that is going to be a real catalyst of change, and the government has to supplement this. When the support would be there from the government side, this industry has nothing that this has to grow in future. And when we are talking about, the government has also to approach to International Maritime Organization to extend the period of the implementation of the Hong Kong Convention, so that we have much time to comply with each and every segment of the convention, so if the date is extended. So international shipping companies must have to be contribute towards the developing countries, particularly Pakistan, because if they are sending their ships for breaking, for recycling, it's their responsibility that they have to contribute for environmental roadmaps and all other things to comply with all those conditions. So this is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.